Chelsea sacked 3 managers in one season. They finished 9th in the Premier League, and now they want the guy who just left Real Madrid after their worst campaign in years. Positive talks confirmed. Xabi Alonso is Chelsea's #1 target, but there's a catch, and it could blow the whole deal up. This is Soccer World News. Chelsea are making their most ambitious managerial move in years, and the story is more complicated than the headlines suggest. So let's break it all down. Let's start with what we actually know. According to journalist Ben Jacobs of TalkSport, Chelsea's ownership group BlueCo have already made contact with Xabi Alonso, and the talks have been described as positive. Transfer insider Nicolas Schera backed that up, writing that there were positive first talks this week, and that Alonso has given his availability for a long-term project and contract. Alonso is 44 years old, out of work since leaving Real Madrid by mutual consent in January, and by all accounts ready to return to management as soon as possible. Chelsea want to have a permanent appointment in place before the World Cup begins on June 11th, which gives them less than a month to close this deal. That urgency is real. The decision to go for Alonso represents a significant U-turn for Chelsea's ownership. Earlier reports had Andoni Iraola, the outgoing Bournemouth manager, as the frontrunner. 2 other candidates, Cesc Fabregas of Como and Francesco Farioli of Porto, were also approached and declined. So BlueCo has already been turned down twice before landing on Alonso as the primary target. That context matters. It tells you something about how the process has gone so far. But here's why Alonso is actually the most interesting name of all the candidates, and it comes down to one specific thing BlueCo is willing to offer him that they haven't offered anyone else. Here's what makes this pairing genuinely interesting beyond the headline. Xabi Alonso built something extraordinary at Bayer Leverkusen, winning the Bundesliga without losing a single game in 2023-24, playing some of the most attractive, high-intensity pressing soccer in Europe. That season made him arguably the most sought-after young coach on the continent. At Real Madrid, it didn't work. 7 months, 34 games, left by mutual consent when the season collapsed. But the tactical blueprint he used at Leverkusen was never really given time to bed in at Madrid. The squad was too chaotic, the expectations too immediate. Chelsea, with their young squad and their explicit desire for a long-term project, may actually be a better environment for what Alonso wants to build. The key detail from the Goal.com report, BlueCo are willing to hand Alonso more power over the sporting direction of the club than previous managers have had. That is a significant offer. Chelsea's revolving door of managers, Maresca, Rosignol, now McFarlane as caretaker, has been partly driven by a disconnect between managers and the ownership's transfer decisions. If Alonso is given genuine sporting control over recruitment, that changes the dynamic entirely. Chelsea also have one of the most talent-dense young squads in the Premier League: Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, Nicolas Jackson, Malo Gusto. These are players in their early to mid-20s who have been playing in a system that hasn't maximized them. Alonso's high press, positional play, and attacking style could unlock exactly the kind of football that squad is capable of but has never consistently produced. The potential is there. Whether he takes the job is the question, and that's where the catch comes in. Here is the catch, and it is a significant one. Xabi Alonso spent 5 years as a player at Liverpool. He is, by multiple accounts, a club he has a deep emotional connection to and a club he has long wanted to manage. A Spanish report cited by Football 365 states that Alonso dreams of managing there someday. That is not a vague rumor. That is a specific source preference that Chelsea's ownership knows about and has to work around. Liverpool's situation complicates everything. Arne Slot won the Premier League last season but has struggled this year. There are growing reports of fan disenchantment at Anfield, and whispers about whether FSG will stick with him into next season. FSG have publicly backed Slot, but publicly backing a manager while the season is still live is not the same as committing to him long term. Chelsea know this. They are effectively trying to sign Alonso before Liverpool decides they need him. The race against the clock is real. Chelsea want the deal done before June 11th. Liverpool would realistically not make a managerial decision until after the season ends, which is this month. If FSG decide to change course and call Alonso in the next 2 weeks, the entire Chelsea deal collapses. That is the risk BlueCo is carrying right now. According to reports, Alonso has informed Liverpool of his preference for their job if it becomes available. But for now, FSG are backing Slot, and Alonso is not going to wait indefinitely. Chelsea are offering him a contract, sporting control, and a clear long-term project. Liverpool are offering him nothing concrete. The question is whether the emotional pull of Anfield is strong enough for Alonso to turn Chelsea down and wait for a job that may never materialize. Alonso is the frontrunner, but not the only name. Chelsea are also in active talks with Andoni Iraola, the Spaniard who has done outstanding work at Bournemouth and is leaving the club this summer. Iraola's preference is to stay in England, and Crystal Palace are also pursuing him. He and Alonso share the same agency, IDUB Global, which actually simplifies negotiations from a logistical standpoint. Oliver Glasner of Crystal Palace and Filipe Luis, who managed Flamengo until earlier this year, have been discussed internally at Chelsea. Marco Silva of Fulham is considered a fallback option, though Silva has a 3-year contract renewal offer on the table at Craven Cottage and has not yet responded to it. The hard deadline is June 11th, the day the World Cup begins. Chelsea want a permanent manager identified and announced before the tournament starts. That gives the new coach a window to begin preseason planning while the World Cup is on, so they can hit the ground running in late July when their own players return from international duty. The reality, if Alonso says yes in the next 2 weeks, this story has a clean ending. If he hesitates waiting for Liverpool, and Liverpool never come, Chelsea may pivot to Iraola and avoid the uncertainty entirely. Either way, this is the most important off-field decision Chelsea will make all summer. After 3 managers in 1 season, getting this one right is not optional. 3 managers in 1 season, 9th place in the Premier League, a squad full of young talent that has never been properly unlocked. And now Chelsea are going after one of the most coveted coaches in European soccer, a man who built an unbeaten title-winning team at Leverkusen and dreams of managing Liverpool. The intrigue does not get much better than this. Do you think Alonso should take the Chelsea job, or should he hold out for Liverpool? Drop your take in the comments right now, and subscribe to Soccer World News. We'll have every update on this story as it develops this week. See you next time.